to go across. So Divyesh also has been tracking that story ever since that fire broke out. Divyesh, this is the visual that we all have been waiting for. The victims of that horrific fire, all of us journalists covering this incident, because we do know that had the precautions been taken, had the fire safety norms been in place, if Birch would have had an NOC, they were using fire for entertainment without taking the precautions. In this case, the owners of this nightclub can't absolve themselves, isn't it? They can't run away to another country and think कि इंडिया में तो सब चलता है. Clearly, सब नहीं चलता.
Well, you can see over here,
Yes.
we are at the Anjuna police station. This is the Anjuna police station and this police deployment over here. All the gates have been closed and they're just waiting for the Luthra brothers to be brought back. They've just left the airport. What we hear from our sources that they've just left the airport and it could be 45 or 50 minutes or so that the Luthra brothers will be brought back to the Anjuna police station. Anjuna police station is the police station probing the Birch by Romeo Lane nightclub fire incident. Yes, as you pointed out, Sneha, this could have been prevented if the fire safety norms had been followed, if the fire safety rules had been followed, if all the precautions had been taken, if all the licenses were there, if all the permits were there and they ran it legally. But they used combustible material. They had no fire safety precautions. They had no fire safety permits. They had no fire safety equipment in place. Even a small spark from a firework that was used. Even the fireworks were used illegally. The fireworks wouldn't have been used. It shouldn't have been used in a closed area. But despite that, they used fireworks for an entertainment show. And then had been using it earlier too. But then it did not erupt. But this time it did cause fire. And the death trap that they had created, they had named it as the first island club of Goa. First island club. And they had erected a building into a water body, which is completely illegal. And the construction was such that the lower area where 23 people suffocated to death was a basement and people were trapped over there. It had no exit. It had just one entry and exit point that was through a ladder which went upstairs where the performance was happening. So many people ran downstairs. There was the staff quarters over there.
That's
right.
right.
There was the changing room over there. There was the kitchen over there. And it had no entry and exit point. And that...
They seriously have got
that
some
was, that
answers
became the trap.
to give to the authorities, to the Goa police, isn't it, Divyesh? Be with us. For our viewers who've just joined us, we're going to tell them what really has happened here. The Luthra brothers were in Delhi up until yesterday. Now they've just reached Goa. They are in the transit remand of the Goa police for 2 days. They wanted 3, got 2. They would be questioned. In possibility, they would be, in fact, the authorities, the police is going to ask for further custody of the Luthra brothers, getting questioned in connection with the fire that took place at their nightclub. Now, there were not one but several lapses. What's also was that even at the time, and this is so important to underscore, and is that even when the fire had not been doused at the nightclub and the bodies were still getting retrieved, the bodies were still getting identified, the fire dowsing operations were also not complete. They chose to leave the country. At 1 o'clock, they booked the tickets. At 5:30, they were on a plane to Phuket in Thailand, thinking that they are going to get away. But within a record 5 days, they were traced back and detained in Thailand with the Thai authorities on India's insistence, working along with the country to bring the Luthra brothers to justice. Now, it's also important to focus on the fact that it's not just 2 but 3 owners of the Birch nightclub. Remember, this is a chain of nightclubs. Its presence is there in not just Goa, but in other places, in other cities as well, including one in Delhi. To tell our viewers, there were 3 owners, including another one who claimed to be a sleeping partner here, trying to absolve himself. One said, I'm a sleeping partner. The other 2 decided to run away. But faster than they could run, even quicker, they've been brought back to the country. Divyesh, continues to be with us even as we are on these images of the Luthra brothers being brought back to the country. Divyesh, now the wheels of justice moving very swiftly. Talk to us a little more about the kind of action that's going to be taken or is being taken against the authorities who decided to, look the other way as this nightclub functioned without an NOC for fire.
Well, Sneha, I was speaking to a very senior officer
Yes.
from the Goa police, and he has told me that no one will be spared, and the case is being dealt with an iron hand. All those involved, be it a government officer, be it a public elected representative, be it a politician, whatever person is involved, they will not be spared. And that is what the Goa police is saying. Action will be taken on all those people who were involved, who had helped the Luthra brothers. Just yesterday, Sneha, if India Today broke the story that with the trade license document of Birch by Romeo Lane Nightclub, which had been applied in 2023, and within 4 days, usually, I'll give you a background to it. Usually, it takes around 6 to 8 months to get a trade license. 6 to 8 months to get a trade license from the local panchayat. But here, in the case of Birch by Romeo Lane, the trade license was awarded to the Luthra brothers within 4 days of the application. Within 4 days of applying for the trade license. The sarpanch, the panchayat members, the panchayat secretary and officials were so prompt that they were just waiting for the Luthra brothers to apply for the trade license. For applying for a trade license, the mandatory need is that they should have all the licenses, they should have all the clearances, they should have all the NOCs from all the departments, be it the Pollution Control Board, be it the Coastal Management Authority, be it the Collector Office, be it the police, be it various other departments like the Town Planning, the Tourism Department. None of those were in place, but the Panchayat, the Arpora Nagoa Panchayat of Goa was so prompt that even if there is an application for a trade license, initially a provisional trade license is allotted. But here, there was no provisional trade license. Directly a full-fledged trade license was awarded to the Luthra brothers, and that too within 4 days of time. And we have the document to prove that. In fact, we have spoken to the person who had helped, the lawyer who had helped the Luthra brothers apply for the trade license, and he himself has raised the question that how come the panchayat was so prompt, so eager to issue the trade license, that even before issuing a provisional trade license, they directly issues a full-fledged trade license to the Romeo Lane operators, Luthra brothers, that he himself is raising the questions. And he has spoken to India Today and clearly said that how come this was possible. He himself was surprised that the panchayat was so eager, they were so poised to award this license to Luthra brothers so that they could operate a club in their panchayat jurisdiction. And that same club became a death trap for 25 innocent people. Remember? 23 people suffocated to death, 2 charred to death, 4 of them tourists. Rest others were staffers of the club who couldn't get out in time because there was no exit. There was no exit at all. The basement was a trap. Even on the upper floor where the performance was happening had just had a single point of entry and single point. It was the same point of entry and same point of exit. A tiny lane, and they had themed it as the first island club of Goa. A place frequented by a lot of tourists. On the fateful night when this incident happened, on the 6th of December, around 250 to 300 people were present there. The number could have grown, the number could have been much larger. But those people were lucky that they were saved. There are people who've been injured, they've suffered severe injuries, severe burn injuries, up to 40% burns. They'll suffer for their life. Their life was not lost, but they'll suffer for their life
Absolutely.
because of these injuries that had been caused to them because Luthra brothers were operating with the help of or with the protection of some people in Goa who are helping them, who are protecting them. Over to you.
Well, absolutely, Divyesh. Getting in those details is not just about those people who've lost their lives, but what about those people with the disabilities there? What's most shocking here is that there was just so many lapses. Authorities chose to look the other way. We will continue to, in fact, get you more details on that big story, Divyesh. Be with us.